Hey people, it's Nia Stokey. Now I want to do another video about forgotten black hero, and this one is Robert Subokwe out of South Africa. Robert Subokwe was one of South Africa's greatest but forgotten heroes of the struggle for human rights and non-racialism. History overlooks the role he played in the protests that led to the 1960 Sharpeville massacre and the first global condemnation of the apartheid state. Subokwe was an academic, a lawyer, a lyrical writer, and a persuasive orator. He helped found the Pan-Africanist Congress and was supposed to oppose a non-racial rather than multiracial future for South Africa. For a time, apartheid authorities regarded Subokwe as more dangerous than leaders like Nelson Mandela. In 1960, as president of the newly formed PAC, Subokwe was key in organizing protests against the pass laws. The Dumb Pass, literally Dumb Pass, was a document all black South Africans had to carry to allow them to pass into cities, places many had lived all their lives. In the late 1950s, the pass laws had been extended to include black women. The PAC and ANC responded with nationwide civil disobedience campaigns. On the morning of 21st March 1960, Subokwe left his home in Mafolo, Soweto, to lead a small crowd on an 8-kilometer march to Orlando police station. They had one goal: to be arrested. The pass laws made everyone a criminal, while every black man and woman a potential criminal, simply for being somewhere without the right ID documents. They were trying to expose the absurdity of these laws by forcing the authorities to arrest everybody. The hope was that this many criminals are processed, the system would just collapse. Just days before, Subokwe had resigned his post at the lecturer University of Witwatersrand and made arrangements for the safety of his family. A week earlier, he had written to the South Africa's Commissioner of Police, Major General Radameyer, informing that the PSC would be holding a 5-day non-violent and disciplined protest against the pass laws. As they approached the Orlando police station, they were arrested, as they expected. What few expected on 21st March 1960 would be Robert Subokwe's last days of freedom. He would spend the rest of his life in either prison or internal exile under house arrest. The Sharpeville massacre. On the same day, 70 kilometers to the south, in the township of Sharpeville, outside Vereeniging, other tragic events were unfolding. A crowd of 5,000 peaceful protesters organized by the PAC approached a local police station. Police opened fire. 69 people were killed and more than 200 wounded, many of them shot in the back. The Sharpeville shooting, as it became known, was a turning point in South Africa's history. It made headlines across the world and sharply intensified international pressure on the apartheid state. In the aftermath, the government imposed a state of emergency, banning both the ANC and PAC as illegal organizations detaining 18,000 people. The liberation movements responded by abandoning peaceful resistance for military struggle, in the ANC forming the armed wing Umkhonto we Sizwe and the PNC its armed wing POCO. On April 1st, 1960, the United Nations Security Council passed Resolution 134 regarding the situation at a large-scale killing of unarmed and peaceful demonstrators against racial discrimination and segregation in the Union of South Africa. The resolution voiced the Council's anger at the policies and actions of the South African government and called on the government to abandon apartheid. With world authority behind it, UN Resolution 134 became a powerful weapon for the international anti-apartheid movement. In 1954, Subokwe was appointed lecturer in African Studies at the University of Witwatersrand, earning him the nickname the Professor among his friends and fellow activists, and settled his family in Mafolo, Soweto, south of Johannesburg. He joined the ANC but was increasingly critical of what he saw as the organization's liberal left multiracialist policies. Subokwe's antagonism to multiracialism, as opposed to non-racialism, and his Africanist philosophy came directly out of his appreciation of the absurdity of race as a real thing. He set out this view in a famous speech in 1959. The structure of the body of man provides evidence to prove the biological unity of the human species. All scientists agree that there is no race that is superior to another, and there is no race that is inferior to others. The Africanists take view that there is only one race to which we all belong, and that is the human race. In our vocabulary, therefore, the word race as applied to man has no plural form. Against multiracialism, we have this objection that the history of South Africa has fostered group prejudices and antagonisms. And if we are to maintain the same group exclusiveness parading under the term of multiracialism, we shall be transporting to the new Africa these very antagonisms and conflicts. Further, multiracialism is in fact a pandering to European bigotry and arrogance. It is a method of safeguarding white interests, implying as it does the proportional representation irrespective of population figures. In that sense, it is a complete negation of democracy. Now founding the Pan-African Congress. As an Africanist, Subokwe was also a strong advocate for the political unity of the African continent, particularly in the context of the Cold War. We regard it as a sacred duty of every African state to strive ceaselessly and energetically for the creation of a United States of Africa, stretching from Cape Town to Cairo, Morocco to Madagascar. The days of small independent countries are gone. The Pan-African movement was inspired by Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana, the first African state to gain independence. Subokwe said, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah has repeatedly stated that in international affairs, Africa wishes to pursue a policy of positive neutrality, allying herself to neither of the existing blocs, but remaining independent in all things, but neutral in none that affect the destiny of Africa. It is not the intention of African states to change one master, Western imperialism, for another, Soviet hegemony. Hegemony just means basically someone's control or dominating influence. Solitary confinement and the Subokwe clause. After his arrest on 21st March 1960, Subokwe was sentenced to 3 years in prison. He refused the help of an attorney and would not appeal the sentence on the grounds that the court had no jurisdiction over him, as it was not a court of law or justice. Just as his 3-year term was up, the South African government passed the General Law Amendment Act on 3rd May 1963, which contained a special clause allowing the Minister of Justice to prolong the imprisonment of any political prisoner indefinitely. The Subokwe clause, as became known, was only ever applied to Robert Subokwe. Subokwe was moved to Robben Island, where he served a further 6 years in solitary confinement. Not just in jail, solitary confinement. Oh, good God. He had separate living quarters and was denied contact with other prisoners, but he was allowed books and study materials, and during this time he had a degree in economics from the University of London. In 1964, a year after his arrest his sentence was supposed to have ended, Subokwe was offered a job by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in the U.S., the NAACP as we know it. But John Vorster, the Minister of Justice, later Prime Minister of South Africa, refused to allow him to leave the country. Subokwe was finally released from jail in May 1969, but banished to the dusty township of Galeshew outside Kimberley. You'll know Kimberley as that place with a gigantic hole where the mine was where they took the diamonds. In today's Northern Cape province, a place some 500 kilometers equidistant from both Johannesburg and Subokwe's hometown of Graaf Reinet. There he was on house arrest for 12 hours a day and from taking part in any political activity. In 1970, Subokwe was again offered a job in the U.S., this time at the University of Wisconsin. Again, apartheid officials refused to allow him to leave South Africa. Under house arrest, Subokwe studied law, completing articles in Kimberley and opening his own legal practice in 1975. But soon after, he fell ill. In July 1977, he applied for permission to seek treatment in Johannesburg. He was diagnosed with advanced lung cancer. Despite his failing health, the government deliberately made it hard for Subokwe to get the treatment he needed by insisting he comply with the conditions of his restriction. On 27th of February 1978, he died from lung complications at Kimberley General Hospital. He was buried in Graaf Reinet, the town of his birth. At the launch of the PAC, Subokwe said, "We aim politically at government of the Africans, by the Africans, for the Africans, with everybody who is only loyalty to Africa, and who is prepared to accept the democratic rule of an African majority being regarded as an African. Here is a tree rooted in African soil, nourished with waters from the rivers of Africa. Come and sit under its shade, and become with us the leaves of the same branch, and the branches of the same tree." So I would like to salute Robert Subokwe, who has now passed from this life. He had a very short life relative to what he could have lived. I think he died around his mid-50s, if I didn't look at the birthday. And he spent a lot of it in jail, internal exile, being harassed, to ill health, and eventually his death. But he never gave up striving for justice for his people. Truly, he was a patriot. Let us remember him. Rest in power, our brother, gone but not forgotten, Robert Subokwe. If you like this, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace, family.